And 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, Josh Searson of World Alternative Media here, and we are joined, of course, by Tim Picciott of the Liberty Advisor, and we've got a good show for you today. Not necessarily good news, but I think we can find some good out of the insanity that we are witnessing all over the world right now, to say the least. Let's go.
Can I interrupt you real immediately,
Sure.
real quick? Because right now it pulled up the video, and this is just absolutely hilarious. So we're about to go into the articles, and as it pulls up the WAM video, we see an advertisement for Paul Krugman's masterclass on the WAM channel. I mean, you can't even.
I know. You
Stuff up.
can't make this stuff up. It's so ridiculous, and this is what we are trying to chip away at here. This insanity, this propaganda. If we jump into the first piece here, we see this chart that we've showed you guys before out of Gifting. So we'll let it play out there. It starts off, this is U.S. weekly initial jobless claims, thousands seasonally adjusted. And this, we've talked about this chart before, but this is absolutely insane, people. Watch this movement coming up right away. We see 2008, and here's 2020. This is 1 week. Look at that. I mean, can you beat that as far as crazy, as far as a hockey stick goes? That beats out Al Gore any day. And if we jump into the next article here, it says Dow dumps 800 points from Sunday open, erases Fed all in spike. Before we go any further into this, make sure to hit that like button, folks, and check those links below, and join us at www.iamband.com for our new newsletter. The stock market recovered briefly despite crazy amounts of jobless claims, only for it to be hit once again pretty hard today, despite the Federal Reserve's attempts to manipulate. If we're looking at this Market Watch article here, it says U.S. stocks slump as investors brace for coronavirus damage earnings season. And as the article goes into, oil turns lower Monday after OPEC allies reach historic deal on outputs cut to end price war. And as it goes into below, U.S. stocks slumped Monday afternoon, but were off session lows as investors prepared for a bleak first quarter earnings season that will see results and outlooks hammered as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. What are other major indexes doing? The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 458 points or 2% to 23,255, while the S&P 500 dropped 1.6% to 2,744. The NASDAQ Composite was off 0.4% at 8,122. U.S. and European markets were closed Friday for the Good Friday holiday. European markets remain closed Monday for Easter. The S&P 500 last week jumped 12.1% for its largest weekly rise since 1974, while the Dow advanced 12.7% and the NASDAQ Composite rose 10.6%. I think they want these markets closed as much as possible right now, because the more time the markets are open, the more time people can come to terms with the fact that we are witnessing the greatest global depression we have ever seen in history. This is so historic that you cannot really, I feel like when I was making the title for this video, I was thinking the great global, or the global Great Depression, it's not enough. I mean, what we're witnessing today is a bloodbath on an epic scale that we are going to 20, 50, 100 years from now be comparing other economic crises to this right now. And we are so little into this whole crisis so far. I mean, there's so much more to go in it, and there's so much more to learn from it. And unfortunately, people still largely are not learning from this crisis. If you're just tuning in, hit that like button, folks. We're going to go through all of this news and more today. I have to ask Tim, I mean, we have all of this Fed pumping. If we jump to this next article here, One River Asset Management, it says without the Fed and Treasury bailouts, stocks would be down 50 to 80%. This is a piece authored by Eric Peters, CIO of One River Asset Management. What do you think, Tim? I mean, is he right? I mean, what is even keeping the stock market up at all right now, other than a little bit of speculation mixed with an insane amount of manipulation by entities like the Federal Reserve, which we've been predicting for years?
Yeah, we really have a few things going on at play here, Josh. So, I mean, one of the very first things that really started, getting the market going back up and running, obviously, not counting all the Fed's actions, was the fact that what happens to the pension funds is they are required to keep a certain amount in certain asset classes. So, for instance, if they have to keep 60% into stocks, and all of a sudden now, because the stock market went down, maybe now they only have 45% in stock. So then what they need to do is they're forced to buy back in to then raise their allocation back up to that 60%. Now, when they do that, that creates, some forced buying into the market, which then, then the stocks are shorted the most. Then there's certain short squeezes that go on. And then you parlay that with the fact that you got guys like Mnuchin saying they're going to do whatever it takes and they're going to print as much money,
Right.
as humanly possible. And then, we got this $2 trillion plan. And then, Nancy Pelosi wants another $1 trillion plan. Then Donald Trump, Mr. Conservative, says, oh no, we don't want your $1 trillion plan because I've got another $2 trillion plan for infrastructure. And so I don't know, maybe the play, if we're looking at 40 chess, maybe it's hey, we're going to go bankrupt anyways. So F it, let's just max out all the credit cards. I mean, that's the only justification that I can think of. But yeah, I mean, the Federal Reserve, absent the Federal Reserve's money printing, this market would probably be down, 80%. And I wish it was down 80% because guess what? Most Americans don't give a rat's what about the stock market. I mean, about, probably, I don't know what it is. I mean, the top 10% probably own just about all the stocks anyways. Then the top 1% of that own about 50% of the stocks there. And so by and large, this is a bailout of, Wall Street, where Main Street gets screwed again. Okay, great. You guys, you, Mr. Family of 4, you get $3,000. Oh, by the way, for that $3,000, we're gonna, saddle you with $60,000 worth of debt. So, can I have that deal? Can I say, okay, how about I don't get I won't take the $3,000, but you don't put the $60,000 of debt onto me? Because there's people that might take that deal. Who knows?
Yeah.
Dumbed down masses.
Absolutely. By the way, a big shout out to Con, who sent Australian $4.49 in the super chat and says, cheers, boys. Cheers to you as well. Thank you so much for the super chats. It goes a long way, and hitting that like button and sharing on social media to get around the shadow banning helps a lot too. Thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate the support. I want to jump into the next article, which I think is a very pertinent issue out of Market Watch. It says 43% of small businesses say they'll be forced to close permanently if they don't get help soon, survey says. And now let me point out that help would be government that put them in this situation in the first place. But as a subtitle says, small businesses can now apply for $350 billion in forgivable loans as part of the $2 trillion coronavirus stimulus bill, which, by the way, mostly goes towards the JFK Center for Arts and stuff. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Well, no,
and we'll go into that more in a second.
Yeah, there's some separate ones that they had trotting out there. But initially it was, oh, hey, you can apply and we'll give you $10,000. And then I saw something that got morphed into, and actually we did a Tim and John on my channel yesterday where we went into the CARES Act with Kirk Chisholm, and now it's morphed into actually we'll give you $1,000 per employee on your payroll. And oh, by the way, no bank in America is basically in a position to be able to take every single small business owner onboarding at once. And so, great, you get your $1,000 as a business owner after you've already been out of business for 2 months. So too little, too late, in my opinion.
It doesn't even make sense. And again, it's the government not making economic sense. It's amazing. Who would have thought? And, as this article goes into here, it says small businesses are suddenly hanging on by a thread. Suddenly, they've always been hanging on by a thread, but carrying on. As it says, 43% of small businesses say they will have to permanently close within 6 months without some sort of quick cash infusion or fast improvements in economic conditions, according to Friday's survey that gives another look into the coronavirus outbreak's swift and severe economic damage, which, by the way, there's not going to be any fast improvement. This will probably last 10, 15 years, the bloodbath or the aftermath of this insanity anyway. The butt of it being in the next year or so, but
yeah, I mean, it's going to last 10, 15 years for the average person that just lost their job. But, if you're the big bankers or the big pharma, then you're going to get bailed out and you're going to be, enjoying your super yachts and everything else. So let's just make a distinction between, and I know that you know this, obviously.
And also we have to keep in mind that there's a good chance that might not even work out that way. I mean, there's a chance that we could see a switch from the old guard system. I hope to God that we do. But carrying on with the article, it says coming the same day as a devastating jobs report revealing the loss of 701,000 jobs in March, which some economists said is only a glimpse of the carnage to come. A survey by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and MetLife revealed 24% have already shut down on a temporary basis, and 40% of the small businesses that are still open say they will probably have to close temporarily, close within the next 2 weeks. Though 43% of the 500 polled businesses say they can't survive without some sort of government assistance and or a change in economic conditions. 46% say the economy needs between 6 months and a year to return to the way it was. It will return to the way it was in that time. 54% said American economy is in poor health. Well, who are these 46% of people that say the U.S. economy is in good health? It makes no sense. Look, guys, I mean, what we're witnessing here, the 43% are right, but also they are just a small portion of what's actually going to be hit here. Most of the small businesses are not going to be able to bounce back from this. And I'm sorry, no amount of bailout is going to change that unless you want to hyperinflate the currency. What we're witnessing here is not just the devastation to the businesses, but the job losses, this massive, heavy burden on the shoulders of taxpayers, on the shoulders of the Fed, who is loving this because they're doing full QE, like just printing insane amounts of money. This is not going to just suddenly recover after the coronavirus is gone. And if people think it will, then they're sorely mistaken, and they're not paying attention to history, because as we've seen in the past, they're going to need to do some crazy deficit spending, go into war, whatever you can look at, the Roman Empire to the Great Depression to the recession. The monetary system needs a war right now, and I believe that they're definitely going to do that.
Now, in terms of someone that doesn't think that this is going to
exited for a second there, my apologies.
Okay, yeah, it says Bernanke, coronavirus disruptions much closer to a major snowstorm than the Great Depression. And I just love that article because it just shows the complete cluelessness of the former Fed chair, who is now working for Citadel Capital, which has a major conflict of interest. Let's face it, no one's hiring Ben Bernanke for his wisdom. They're hiring him as a political payoff for being the political whore that he was the entire time that he was in there.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I do want to note that though that article mentioned 700 something thousand job losses, we're looking at probably already close to 20 million jobs lost in the United States, and looking at conservatively 60 to 70 million jobs lost by the end of this, and I think even more so. And honestly, they're herding people like cattle into their homes instead of trains these days. And
unfortunately, there's no government jobs that are being lost. If you're going to cut somewhere, I mean, what really needs to be, not that I'm hoping people lose jobs, but those jobs a lot of these jobs should never existed. Or how come if you're laid off as a government worker, or you're staying home as a government worker, maybe the better way to put that, oh, don't worry, you get all your full paycheck, but meanwhile, us as this random average slave out there, sorry, you got to go take our paycheck to go feed your families, which and I forgot who it was. I think it was Doug Casey who said he takes the unemployment rate and actually adds all the government workers onto the unemployment rate to give a true health of what the unemployment rate should be.
And by the way, we got a Doug Casey article coming up at the end of this video.
I didn't even know that. Yeah, didn't even know that.
I'm gonna go. Doug Casey is one of my favorite people. I had dinner with him about a month ago in Acapulco, Mexico, and we just talked for like 2 hours about Mauritania. It was the weirdest.
I had another dinner. I had a dinner with him, not with you. Where on one side it was Roger Stone's main like social media PR guy, and the other side it was Doug Casey, and then James Turk, and so that was a pretty cool.
We have strange lives, Tim, and I truly enjoy it. But so it's crazy though, because what we're not considering here is a possibility of 1 billion jobs wiped out worldwide, which I maintain that might be more than what will happen. But I maintain that it's reasonable and rational to believe, with everything that's happening right now with the global pandemic and government crackdown and whatever they are doing to ensure that people are dependent and desperate, I believe that we could very well see as many as 1 billion jobs, maybe 500 million conservatively, but a billion jobs wiped out worldwide. And with that, we're going to see this massive bloodbath of people that aren't able to spend money into the economy, people that won't have jobs, people that cannot support other people who do have jobs, like they can't buy their products. We're going to see, massive amounts of currency printing, the price of living skyrocket, communist central planning, communist control of private property and land ownership. I mean, we're going to see massive eminent domain. We're seeing that with the rents. And the possible UBI, it's actually destruction of property rights at the end of the day, forcing you into the house like cattle instead of on a train car. And then they have the cashless society, technocracy rising up out of this as an excuse, utilizing coronavirus as a catalyst. And at the same time, you have the issue of the actual pandemic and the military in the streets. And forced vaccinations. I mean, it's just crazy. And by the way, Bill Gates himself recently said, and I have to keep making this clear, that he said himself that he believes that not as many people as he thought would die from the coronavirus. And actually, as a matter of fact, more people will die from the shutdowns. But he says we need the shutdowns until we get a vaccine, which could be as much as 2 years. And Dr. Fauci is saying that we should keep everything shut down until the last coronavirus patient. Well, how long is that going to be? They're testing every form of coronavirus as novel coronavirus, as if it's the same thing. But all of you have had coronavirus in your lifetime. So this notion that you conflate it and then utilize that as a catalyst or a reason to shut everyone down and force them into their homes, in one way is genius. In another way, I don't think will work long term. People will not buy this, in July or in September. I hope to God they don't.
Yeah, we have seen some articles where people, it was like 80% said that if the government were reopen everything tomorrow, that they would stay home. So unfortunately, we've got a whole bunch of dumbed down masses that just want to buy into what they have to say. So the government doesn't even
the vacation. They're enjoying a vacation and they don't realize this is no vacation. They are going to be effed. They will not have any money at the end of this. There's going to be people riding in the streets, breaking into homes to steal food. I mean, guys, this is no walk in the park. This is no vacation. And no matter what money the government gives you, they're printing it. They're actually giving you that money, causing the price of living to go up. So in almost collaboration with what you're getting, if not to an even worse extent, things are getting more expensive. So it's almost like getting no money at all at the end of the day. So it just equals out. This is very dangerous and can lead to serious side effects down the line. And I hope to God that we don't actually just sit down and wait for this to be over, because we have evidence that the US government gave $3.7 million to a Wuhan lab, the Wuhan lab where allegedly this broke out from, which was studying bats who were the origins for the strain of coronavirus that was slightly mutated. I mean, if this isn't an obvious conspiracy, I don't know what is at this point. It was obviously a bioweapon to control humanity. And by the way, I want to give a big shout out to Roy Lowry, who sent $20 in the super chat. Says, Josh, you're the best. Love your take. Hope this helps. It helps a great deal. I really appreciate those super chats and hitting like on this video. I really, truly appreciate it, guys. What Tim just brought up on the screen is a video that I actually recorded yesterday, by the way. I'm going to be putting up a video later today, probably at some point, on this story. U.S. government gave 3.7 million grant to Wuhan lab at the Center of Coronavirus Leak Scrutiny. So stay tuned for that at our channel and check out our video that I just posted about an hour ago on Joe Biden sexual assault charges and the potential of actual criminal proceedings against Joe Biden.
Do you see the New York Times tweet or Facebook post about like, oh, these aren't like regular sexual assault things. These are just women who felt uncomfortable when he was, touching them or sniffing their hair.
Yeah, and sticking his hand up their skirt and actually sticking his fingers inside of them, which is a story that I did today. And Alyssa Milano says, this made me stop believing all women because politics, total hypocrisy. But let's stick on the subject here.
Actually, I do have that one that pulled up real quickly from my Facebook. So this is from the fake New York Times. No other allegation about sexual assault surfaced in the course of our reporting, nor did any former Biden staff corroborate Reid's allegations. We found no pattern of sexual misconduct by Biden beyond hugs, kisses, and touching women previously that made them uncomfortable. So, I mean, it's just so funny.
Like George H.W. Bush. And it's people make politics out of it, which is truly sickening to me and shows that they don't actually care about the issue. But I do want to jump into the next article here that we have from the Thomas Reuters Foundation News, which I found interesting. It was from a couple days ago. It says, sign of the times. Mile-long line of cars outside California grocery giveaway. We are witnessing modern bread lines, folks. Those things that Bernie Sanders said that he loved. We are witnessing the beginning of something that is going to, in many ways, look like Venezuela. With the amount of printing we're seeing, hell, we could see a lot more inflation very soon. And actually, that's something I wanted to ask you about, Tim. Going forward, how much inflation are we going to be witnessing coming out of this massive amount of printing, generally speaking, for like the average person that's buying a loaf of bread at the store?
This is a very complicated question. And actually, John and I did cover this yesterday in like really, really extreme detail on our channel that we have, not our channel, the Tim Picciott Liberty Advisor channel. But it's paradoxically, you could actually see deflation from this first and actually for a while. And so when the banks are, and this is, super hard inside baseball concept to grasp, but when you have the banks that are getting all this money and then they're not necessarily wanting to lend it out because they're only lending it out if they're going to get a free guarantee by the federal government. What that is doing, you're having all this, the M1, the money velocity is basically frozen. It was actually frozen before all this, stuff really went down. And so the money is not moving throughout the economy. And since the money is not moving throughout the economy, you're not really seeing that inflation that a lot of us, would expect to find. And so when you're having seniors who, most of them have saved nowhere near enough that they should have in retirement, even before all this started. Now they've got 30% less than what they did when they were already screwed. So people are going to have to be selling homes, both, if they have to, because, now that they've, lost so much value, or, they're going to have to, downsize. And there's all these deflationary pressures. I mean, the fact that right now that, the baby boomers are in this, in a mode where they're not going to be spending more money. They're going to be holding on to their money because they don't have anywhere near enough amount of money to live. That is a massive deflationary force, but you can't ever have deflation because since the money is based off of debt, and we scroll out a little bit over here, wrong way, you can see where it says King's ransom behind me is to signify that it's not our money, it's the crown's money. And that since we have to borrow our money into existence, there's always going to be more debt than there is money. And if you ever use all of our money to pay down their debt, the whole system implodes. That is deflation. So they can't allow deflation to occur because the whole thing will implode. But then in order to do that, they will print so much money. And I think they can still print a lot more than they've already done before it ends up fully imploding. But either way, it's going to implode. So whether it implodes because it's deflationary and then it implodes that way, or it's deflationary and then they print up enough that makes what they just did look like child's play, then that will then create a hyperinflationary. But it's probably going to happen all overnight eventually. One day you're just going to wake up and it's Monday and, it's all gone now. And I don't think it's necessarily tomorrow. Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's tomorrow. I don't think it's, right around the, right here, that deflation is probably going to occur first. And you guys want to light me up in the comments on that one. But, I've been writing a lot of other stuff too, saying that Bitcoin would go down 50 to 80% during the initial crisis. I also said that the dollar would strengthen initially during the crisis. Those are both things that people made fun of me for. But, so I'm not saying this because I think anyone out there, their thinking is wrong. It's just a lot of times people don't understand all the other greater forces that play here. And I really highly recommend the Tim and John show we did yesterday on my channel, on the Liberty Advisor channel, because we get into like extreme detail on this really kind of geeky subject with Kirk Chisholm.
Right. And I do want to really quickly mention, because someone in the chat, NA, says these are right wingers in here, dude. We are not right wingers, so I don't know what to tell you about that. We are, if you like the idea of freedom, you aren't going to be a right or a left winger. You're going to be outside of that crazy collectivist.
And it's great that I'm like earlier today, I was also called that I have Trump derangement syndrome for criticizing the president. So
don't you love being called a leftist and a right winger all in one day? It's just beautiful.
How about
how confused people are?
How about they're both bad choices because they're both on the left and right arm of the same vulture that is absolutely, devouring our country, and they both suck. I took out the domains. It's just parked right now. Nothing. It's called endthetwoparties.com, beyondthetwoparties.com. I took out another one about defeat the globalists years ago. I mean, I would have been a lot more popular if I would have just jumped on the Trump train the entire time, because I was on it to try to defeat Hillary Clinton and, all of her Maria Abramovich type ties and all the spear cooking thing, which is now back into play with Microsoft's ads. But it didn't mean that automatically it meant that, Trump is good and everything, because he has allowed the Federal Reserve to take even more power. And so I'm very critical of him, but I realized that the media is all BS and that they're just jumping down him on a lot of
They attack him on things that are incorrect and fake, while not attacking him on the actual things that he's doing wrong. And it's all just controlled in the media, as always, to divide people against each other instead of looking at the real enemy, that being the state, the banking system.
Someone's saying that we're doing the Alex Jones show from last night. I mean, I haven't watched Alex Jones in, probably 3 months.
I don't even know how to find it anymore. But hey, so look, I do want to mention, like, I've confronted Bernie Sanders. I've confronted many right-wing politicians. I've confronted Justin Trudeau. By the way, Bernie Sanders just endorsed Joe Biden, who I just did a video on for sexual assault allegations. And on top of that, I'm anti-war and pro, your ability to smoke cannabis if you want, but I'm also free market. I'm a capitalist. It's called finding the most free parts of society and supporting freedom and individualism, and not supporting force or the use of force against free individuals out there. By the way, I want to give another shout out to Roy Lowry, who sent $5 in the super chat. Says, is Mad Max coming? What's your best guess for a timetable? So I don't know about Mad Max. I think we're in a different type of world today versus what we would see in like the movie Mad Max. I don't think it's going to devolve to that, but we are definitely going to see a lot crazier things coming in the near future. I don't know. It's hard to really envision how things will look in 5 years from now, because I don't even know how things will look in 1 month from now right now, because everything is moving so fast. Everything is so absolutely insane right now to, try to grasp what things are going to look like in the future is almost impossible. So I don't even bother. But one thing I do know for sure is that as far as the economy is going, this is going to be absolutely brutal long term, and it's going to cause insane amounts of problems and will probably lead to a lot of deaths. And even Bill Gates, as I mentioned earlier, thinks that this could lead to millions of deaths, millions. And yet he says that the coronavirus won't kill as many people as he thought, but we still need these shutdowns, which will kill more people. I mean, it tells you everything you need to know. Look up Event 201. Look up Dark Winter, I believe it's called. I believe it was, it was Dark Winter. So I'm just going to read a blurb that Tim doesn't have on the screen or anything, but it just says the leaders of two controversial pandemic simulations that took place just months before the coronavirus crisis, Event 201 and Crimson Contagion, share a common history, the 2001 biowarfare simulation, Dark Winter. Dark Winter not only predicted the 2001 anthrax attacks, but some of its participants had clear foreknowledge of those attacks. It's interesting how all these things come together at the end of the day. And again, I have videos going up on all these issues right away, so stay tuned for them. And if you haven't already seen our interview with Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, the inventor of email and 4 degrees from MIT, everyone's got to go to our channel and watch that interview, because it is groundbreaking and it needs to be shared everywhere, because it was hugely shadow banned. Let's go into GDP a bit. Let's go to that Mediaite article, Tim. Pull that Mediaite article up. I think this is important to talk about regarding how this will affect just, the U.S.'s grounds in competing anyway.
Yeah, and I've got a pop-up on here, so I'm just trying to do what I can to get around this pop-up. If you
I'll read the title while you're getting it anyway. It says,
I'm getting it up. Yes.
Okay. JP Morgan predicts GDP will completely crater, forecasts a staggering 40% second quarter drop. And remember, JP Morgan, we were reporting on it in, I believe, November, that they started telling people to get into gold and out of the dollar. And everyone told us we were crazy for talking about that which they were advising people. As the article says, with the coronavirus outbreak having already resulted in massive unemployment across the U.S., JP Morgan believes the gross domestic product will absolutely crater during the second quarter of 2020. Gee, you don't say. We could have told you that easily. According to CNBC, JP Morgan economists are forecasting that the GDP will fall by 40% through the spring months. They also predicted unemployment will reach 20% in April, with 25 million jobs lost overall. And that's probably not including the actual real numbers out of the labor force participation rate, which they always forget to mention. Such a drop, as it says, would be by far the worst in U.S. history. For context, according to Credit Suisse, the worst quarterly drop of the 2008 crash was 8.4%. Well, we should stop comparing this to 2008 or the Great Depression. This is much worse. JP Morgan, as it says, is predicting 23% and 13% increases to close out the year, a forecast which would seem to be contingent upon social distancing guidelines being dramatically eased and stay-at-home orders being lifted for much of the country. So again, we're looking at something that dwarfs the Great Depression, that dwarfs the 2008 financial crisis, and people are still comparing it to that time. Before we go to Tim, I want to jump to the next article here out of Zero Hedge. As it says, a country in lockdown, states accounting for 86% of GDP are frozen. If you could pull that up on the screen there, it says 86%, states accounting for 86% of GDP are frozen. How is this going to affect us overall? What are we going to see happen to the GDP of the United States? What are we going to see happen to the GDP of the world, which generally speaking is usually around $75 trillion? Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is states accounting for 86% of GDP are on lockdown and frozen. Well, it appears that basically all anybody cares about is what the Federal Reserve is up to. So, are Federal Reserve and other central banks printing money? Okay, well, everything is good for the bankers, and they just think, okay, well, we're just going to throw this quarter out the window. But this is like some, I think that they're dealing with some thermometer that is dial things up a little bit, dial things back a little bit when they're dealing with a nuclear reactor that they have no idea what is going on. And I see the economic fallout of this is going to be way worse than the virus. And you can't just lock down 86% of the GDP of basically the entire country and then expect that you're just going to turn things on hunky dory. That this was the skeleton key to be used as to some extent. Trump is sort of getting a free pass in this one and so is Obama, and so is everyone else before him, because this was a gigantic bubble that a lot of people blew up. You mean going all the way back to Alan Greenspan? Alan Greenspan said we need to have a .com. We need to have the housing bubble to replace the .com bubble. And
by the way, Alan Greenspan called himself a free market economist and laissez-faire back in the 60s and 70s, and claimed he loved gold and hated fiat money. But here we are. He's a hypocrite and an evil person. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, one of the best ways to silence one of your critics is to bring them onto your team. And so, think of a guy like Larry Kudlow. So Larry Kudlow was a big critic of the president. And I was watching the Kudlow Report when I was 14 years old. And it was the first thing I listed on Facebook as a like of like a TV show that I liked when I was on Facebook at 18 years old. I said, the Kudlow Report. So no one can accuse me of being some Larry Kudlow hater.
I used to watch Glenn Beck when I was 11 years old.
I will say that I've never watched Glenn Beck. I watched one episode he did in the Federal Reserve, and then my opinion of him right from the get-go was very similar to what I have of Ben Shapiro, where I think he's there as like a Judas goat. Perfect time, around Easter to talk about this. He's a Judas goat to get you about 90%, 80, 85, 90% of the way you need to go. At the last crucial second, Judas goat you and move you over here to, have a whole episode on, FEMA camps and how they're bad. At the very end, like, there's no such thing as FEMA camps, or, so Glenn Beck.
Well, I should say one of the last episodes of Glenn Beck ever had G. Edward Griffin on talking about
that was the only
family.
That was the only one that I saw in full that I would proactively sought out was that one. But I feel like what's his name? Shapiro now is like the new. If there's ever somebody that I would love to be like in a debate with, even though I know like that's all he does, because what he do? He debates a bunch of leftists that don't know anything and like says he owns them, and meanwhile he's got billionaires backing them and gigantic staff feeding him.
And look, he does own a lot of stupid SJWs, and that's one of the great things about him. But he's also promoting neocon agendas, war hawk agendas. Says he loves the CIA, the men and women of the CIA. Says he wants to imprison whistleblowers, and says that he supports the Iraq War to this day. So just to be clear here, he is a neocon.
Claims to be a libertarian. Yeah, claims to be like a libertarian too. Just like what's his name? Glenn Beck was trying to claim the libertarian mantle. And so I think certain people, like even like the chair of the Libertarian Party, I think that he's an intelligence asset to then, basically drive libertarians into a certain direction. But the thing is, it's not about parties. All the parties suck, including the Libertarian Party.
Politics sucks. Politics is a scourge on humanity, a cancer on humanity.
Public opinion is way more important than anything that goes on with any politician.
Yeah, and hopefully not collectively and by force or gunpoint. Hey, Tim, can you pull up the global stock markets? I want to see what the global stock markets look like if you have it anywhere there.
Yeah, let me go get that.
Right, and while you're looking for that, I'm going to give some shout outs here to Rainy Steps, who sent $2.79 Canadian in the super chat. Says, lol, keep up the great work, guys. Thank you so much. Always appreciate your support. Always, and that goes a long way. We got trading economics here, and it says Dow Jones. We could see all the charts there. The FTSE 100. Let's see. We got 5,843. Let's see. What's the day at?
We're actually. I believe we're already in the aftermarket right now. So
right.
So the market just closed a little while ago.
Right. I'm looking at. I just want to see how all the stock markets. The MOEX went down to a good degree today. Let's see. Well, it's down 1.59%. You see, there's a lot of pumping from central banks around the world right now, and we're seeing this strange back and forth between bloodbath and artificial, propping up of different stock markets, which is hilarious to watch to a great extent. You can see the Nikkei 225 there.
I'm trying to find
really
Zimbabwe.
ridiculous.
Trying to find Zimbabwe, wherever that hell
But
that
it's
is.
really crazy to me. There at the very bottom, it's really crazy to me. 269% up. That we see that all while we see jobs just wiped out of the market. If that makes any sense, the correlation makes any sense to you when you see stock markets go up when jobs are crashing and cratering. That says everything you need to know about how incredibly manipulated this market is and how this is actually going to lead to a worse problem down the line. The amount of manipulation is going to lead to a worse problem. And the government intervention, like we saw earlier with the 43% of businesses, small businesses, saying they will not survive once this is over. Well, of course they won't, because the government, first of all, put them in a position, monopolize big businesses, monopolies with taxes and regulations, pushing the small businesses out of the market and out of competition, making it impossible for them to compete. All the while, you have this pandemic come up, and you have these big businesses that are open, and the government, many counselors, senators, governors, congressmen, they've been calling for small businesses to be completely shut because the aisles aren't wide enough. So you might catch the coronavirus there while arresting people walking down a vast empty beach for this. I mean, this isn't about stopping coronavirus. This is about stopping you. And if you don't realize this at this point, I don't know what else to tell you. But nonetheless, we are seeing obviously the more of a monopolization of major businesses and the destruction of small businesses in this insanity, which will lead to more people that are desperate, dependent, and more big companies doing the bidding of the state. So, and then you're going to see the left come in and say, we need more regulations, taxes, all this kind of stuff to stop this. What that's actually going to do is lead to more monopolization by these major businesses. And it's just the problem, reaction, solution, repeat Hegelian dialectic over and over again. It's circular. It's really sad to watch. A big shout out to Evolution of Money, who sent $1.99 in the super chat. Thank you so much, Evolution of Money. I really appreciate the support. It goes a long way here. Seriously, all those super chats go a long way. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, folks. That helps too, as far as the algorithm goes. Annette sent $4.99 in the super chat, says WWG1WGA. Thank you so much to you as well, Annette. As always, it's really great to have your support here at WHAM. And if you check those links below, you could join our new newsletter at www.iamband.com. You could become a client of Tim Picciott at thelibertyadvisor.com. And of course, there are many options below for you to get involved in. Just $1 a month or more can seriously save independent media in this time of great propaganda, when it's never been more important to fight this new world order. And one person said earlier, who do you think is benefiting from this the most? I think China at the moment. They prop up China as a global superpower, technocratic police state, as has been the plan since the 70s. Kissinger meeting with Mao Zedong, creating an alliance which led to a monopolization on Chinese trade, then moving into the Trilateral Commission under Zbigniew Brzezinski, which formed a greater alliance with China, in which Zbigniew Brzezinski said that he dreamed of a technocratic super state. And then you go into the social credit system. Then they get the coronavirus first. They get it. It leaks from a lab. It was clearly weaponized, a lab that was funded by the U.S. government. And suddenly we see them looking like they're collapsing, and the U.S. going up in prosperity. They say hug a Chinese person day. The World Health Organization, headed by the head of the Ethiopian Communist Party, is telling governments to let people go and do whatever they want, which is a good thing. But then now he says we should break into people's homes and separate families for being sick. The U.S. economy is completely collapsing, and China's fudging their numbers and claiming everything's all right. In doing so, now China is rising up as a new world order, and the U.S. is completely collapsing. And I believe that was a plan all along, a global fascio-communist technocratic dictatorship, and tied in with the United Nations, which said years ago, the IMF, they wanted to base their headquarters in Beijing. Anyway, I've talked like a machine gun for long enough. What do you think, Tim?
Well, John, there's actually, one of the other biggest beneficiaries of this will be, big pharma and the vaccines, the military-industrial complex, the Federal Reserve, the bankers. The Fed, is a gigantic beneficiary of this, because they, with the printing presses, are coming in and owning the entire world. So they're going to own all the junk bonds. They're going to own all the regular corporate bonds. And so if those companies default, then the owner of that becomes these private central banks that never had that money to begin with. All they did was take their keyboard, print up a bunch of funny money, and then with that funny money, they went and bought bought up the entire world. And so these are the people that are the beneficiaries. Now, talk about a hilarious story that I just read that you didn't send me. So this is a wild card right now. So Josh probably, oh crap, Tim's pulling up a wild card. But we've got CalPERS wins bad timing award. So that is the California pension system unwinds tail risk hedges weeks before coronavirus hit. So remember what those are for, said Andrew Junkin, consultant at Wilshire Associates, according to transcripts from the meeting. In normal markets or in markets that are slightly up or slightly down or even massively up, those strategies aren't going to do well. But there could be a day when the market is down significantly and we come in and we report that the risk mitigation strategies are up 1,000%. Now, ironically, the outside manager that CalPERS redeemed its funds from was none other than Universal Investments, which is advised by Nassim Taleb, author of the bestseller The Black Swan. And Universal Investments generated a 3,612% return in March and 4,144% return year to date. And the terminated hedge that would have generated more than $1 billion for CalPERS returned more than 3,600% in March, validating the warning Junkin gave to CalPERS executives and board members. And that goes on to say, so whether the moral of the story is you always have to have a hedge for the most unexpected outcome, listen to your consultant or trust your employees' instincts. CalPERS learned a very expensive lesson by giving up on a hedge that cost the fund an immaterial amount compared to the payoff it was supposed to provide. Now, I was running almost an identical strategy. And Josh, do we have you there? I see like something's going on with your camera. So I will just keep talking like a machine gun while people are going on. But yeah, what we did is I ran a strategy along with Kirk Chisholm, where essentially we knew what the max downside exposure we would have. Now, it's probably a little bit different strategy than what they were running at CalPERS, but we knew going into this that the most we could possibly lose was about 3.5% to 5%. So I've been saying 5, it was actually closer to 3.5. And so at the same time, January 15th is right around, or was the day that I put on my hedge, which was also right around the time that CalPERS decided, oh, you know what? Everything is going great. The greatest economy in the history of the world. Let's just fire Nassim Taleb. Let's just fire, some of the greatest minds out there. And let's just, go all in on the stock market. And, it couldn't happen to a greater group of people with them, going off right there. We do see Josh is back. Luckily, I was able to wing it while he was,
I have no idea what's happening. What happened to the picture there on the screen? It's just a frozen picture of me making a weird face. But yeah, my internet keeps going down. I'm in Mexico, in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. So you can imagine there's issues. I have absolutely no idea why. Oh, I need to fast forward. Yeah, my internet keeps going down out here. There's people in my apartment building that keep unplugging the internet and plugging it back in, some Russians. So I think there's a bit of Russian meddling going on.
Russian agents interfering.
Yeah, I mean, Tim, I wanted to ask you, we saw one of the biggest pension shortfalls. We're looking at one of the biggest pension shortfalls in history. We're looking forward. I think 2 years ago, I did a report on it. I talked with Robert Kiyosaki about the potential of possibly what was it again? $400 trillion shortfall in pensions globally by the year 2050, which is like 5 times the global GDP. It doesn't even make sense. It's ridiculous. How is this going to affect pensions most? I mean, those people that have all their money tied up in pension plans with big Ponzi schemes, especially, we see in Canada, the Canadian Ponzi plan, as John Snyson calls it, or in the United States, we have, where is people's money? Are people going to be able to take their money out? Are they going to be able to get their pension money? I mean, are people going to lose their pensions? What do you think?
I mean, they're going to lose it eventually. It just depends how they're going to lose it. Are they going to lose it from their investments cratering and going down to zero? Or are they going to lose it from the government, bailing them out and helping them out and then printing trillions of dollars? And those printing of trillions of dollars then makes their pensions worthless. So I think if you're a teacher or a fighter or a policeman or anything like that, then what's going to happen is, you get your $50,000 a year. What's going to happen is your $50,000 a year is going to end up eventually buying you like $5,000 worth a year. Now, a place like Illinois, if you are living in Illinois right now and collecting a pension, and or like, let's say like you just started off as a teacher, like this is, you know what, I'm going to give financial advice right now, which I'm never supposed to do. If you're 25 years old and working as a teacher in Illinois right now, excuse my language, you'd have to be retarded to keep working and expect that you're going to get that. Now, I can understand if you're 55 or you're 60, or you're right there on the cusp of, you've already put in 15, 20, 30 years. But if you are just starting off right now working in Illinois, then you know what? You deserve to lose all your money because you were in this system because obviously you shouldn't even be a teacher because you're too stupid to understand what's going on. They have a 25% before all this stuff started pension funded ratio. There's no way you're getting your money. And so are there any math teachers in the state of Illinois?
By the way, Tim, a bunch of people are mentioning it in the chat. Your voice dropped dramatically. There's something going on with your mic. It sounds like you're like Barry White or something. I don't know what happened there.
Like
but,
low, like it dropped like lower.
Super low. Like
I don't know.
You can understand you, but it just sounds like your balls just hit the floor. So I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I don't know what was. So it's my voice is it different now?
Super low. You can't
like
see it or
still.
it's super low. You moved the mic and then suddenly your voice got super low, super weird.
Maybe I can plug it back in.
Doesn't even appear to be playback speed because there's no delay. So I don't know.
And now I completely messed it. Can you guys even hear me at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you. I don't know if everyone else can, but yeah, now your voice is back to normal. Anyway, sorry.
Mickey says I sound sexier for doing that. So lower. So you know what? There is, you know what, my voice is going to get as low as the odds of you getting your pension if you live in one of those states. And so I don't know if I can get that low, but there is something called sequence of return risk. I bought sequenceofreturnrisk.com. Right now it's parked, but it was at one point up and running. That is the notion that it doesn't matter what your average return is. It only matters what the order of your returns are. And so the main thing I was protecting against was that sequence of return risk. The main thing CalPERS should have been protecting against was that sequence of return risk. They weren't. So maybe they should go and maybe hire me, which will help support WHAM, to then manage their risk, because apparently, I'm able to do this, making YouTube videos and doing everything else while still being able to protect people on the downside. So, there's 0% chance that these people are going to get their pensions. Now you're going to get it. You're going to get paid. It's just whether or not that money will buy you anything. And pensions it's also big, catch-all term. A lot of different things can mean a pension. So there's people have like their own pensions in a 401k, or you have a defined benefit pension. I think a lot of the defined benefit pensions, you're not going to end up getting what you think is going to buy, or if you do, it's not going to buy you anything. And so you need to have plans on the outside. But yeah, I mean, the only financial advice I'm going to give right now is if you are a teacher in Illinois and you're, 25 years old, 30 years old, 35 years old, 40 years old, what are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, and at this point, you deserve to lose everything, because only an idiot could not see this coming right now.
But the thing is, people are indoctrinated so heavily, Tim, to be like this. I mean, where you can thank the school system, we can thank the media, we can thank the lack of importance given to these important issues. Some of the most important: self-sustainability, your ability to save money, your ability to survive as a human being. I mean, these aren't the things you're taught. You're instead indoctrinated into a system where you don't think about these kinds of things. You think everything is just set up in a perfect system. The fact of the matter is, the system is extremely fragile and fraudulent at the same time. And I think a lot more people are starting to notice that. I have to ask, because I've heard a lot of people in government say, and I'm not just saying like high up in government, but even at lower down jobs, they say, well, but I should be fine. I mean, I got a pension that's really secure with the government. What do you think? People in their 40s, 50s, 60s, how long is that going to last?
I mean, yeah, I think that you'll get your 50,000, your 60,000, but eventually, we talked about deflation. So eventually, we're going to have some deflation, but then, overnight one day we're going to have this massive inflation, and eventually, now it could be another 10 years. I don't know what the timeline on this is, and I'm not going to pin me on that one, but yeah, on a long enough time horizon, you should, if you work for the government and you are, 100% dependent on their, ability to tax people and extort people in order to get your payment, eventually it's the money that's not going to be worth anything. And so great, you get paid your $50,000 a year, but it doesn't buy you anything. And you didn't diversify, you didn't have any gold, didn't have any silver, didn't have any Bitcoin, didn't have any extra cash set aside, didn't have any stocks. There's no silver bullet, and if anything, look at what's happening in a real crisis. Apparently, what you need is, toilet paper, food, water, ammunition, firearms, knowing your community, that's worth more than everything. So, great, you got a whole bunch of zeros in your bank account, but, if you don't have, just the basics to live, then what does it matter?
Absolutely. And again, people will always say, well, you can't eat gold, you can't eat silver. No, you can't. It's always about a diverse portfolio of responsibility, the basis of freedom itself. I wanted to get into some of that actually right away. If we can jump to the why the silver price could skyrocket article here at Zero Hedge. As it says, why the price of silver could skyrocket. I'm not going to go into all of this. It was authored by Simon Black from sovereignman.com. It's a good website. And there's a talk about history and that we could see a massive skyrocketing in the value of something like silver. And I believe that's the case. Now that's for preserving wealth. And now it's just my opinion.
You know what?
Obviously,
Hold on. You know, I'm gonna feed a troll right now. Somebody says, Bradley B, how can I take advice from a kid that's younger than me when the government already took massive pension funds in 2008? He's probably in high school in 2008. Actually, do you know what I was doing in 2008? I was running my school's student managed investment fund, particularly the financial stocks, and moved the entire effing thing into cash in November of 2008. So suck it, Bradley B. So that's what I was doing, and probably had the best return in the country. And then you want to know what else I did? I then went out to work for Waddell and Reed that had the best 5-year return in America. And then I also put options on the S&P 500 in January and probably had the best return in the country. So anyone that thinks I'm too young, okay, go great. Go with your 65-year-old advisor and have him lose all your effing money if I'm too young, because guess what? I'm not going to manage your money now, even if you come to me. So anyone named Bradley B, you're done, because oh, this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about because he's young. Oh yeah, it was a lot of old mother effers who got us into this situation because, oh yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. F you guys. Jesus. Yeah. I have to go get my money gun and go shoot somebody. Where's my money gun? Where's my money gun?
When you need the Trump money gun, you need that helicopter money.
Damn it.
Here we go.
It's the duds. What's this damn Chinese money gun? You know what? I haven't ate yet today. I've been here for like 5 hours.
And remember, this Bradley guy is just going, I don't give a you know what? He's obviously just here to troll us. And I do want to go into this next article here out of Zero Hedge, which says why the price of silver could skyrocket, because I think something that a lot of people have been contemplating is where to put their money. And if you could pull that up on the screen there, we got this article out of Zero Hedge. But I'm not going to go into the whole article or anything, but the fact of the matter is during a recession, silver and gold seem to perform really well. And with the silver gold ratio that we saw earlier this year, I mean, honestly, I don't think, and this is my opinion, I don't think there's ever been a better time to have something like this to ensure your wealth versus US dollar versus other currencies around the world. Now, it's not a great thing for international transactions. That's why I'm a supporter of especially privacy-oriented cryptocurrencies that, you know, we're talking about decentralized, not, you know, mark of the beast, social contract usury, legal tender, centralized crap from central banks and banks. But nonetheless, I believe that silver and gold are a good bet going forward. What do you think, Tim, about the future of silver and gold in this crisis?
I don't know. I was just trying to pick up all my Trump fake dollar bills over here that I was getting out over the place. But you know, I think that, you know, the answer is, you know, we need to have freedom, and then the freedom, we should have the freedom to choose what currency we want. It shouldn't be dictated to us. If you want to use silver, you should be able to use silver. If you want to use gold, you should be able to use gold, you know. But what we have right here, which obviously is a fake Trump dollar bill over here, but this is fake money. This is a Federal Reserve note. It's not a United States dollar. And I think bringing any sovereignty to say, you know, if you want to use some Ripple shitcoin, great, go use it. If you want to go use Bitcoin, great, go use it. If you want to have some sort of coin backed by gold or silver, great, use it. If you want to have this trash and use that, oh wait, no, you can't use dollars now because coronavirus could be on the dollars. I forgot that was a new propaganda we heard. Great, use that.
Yeah,
so
that turned out in Puerto Rico, by the way.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the answer is, this is why I made a hat, you know, right after Trump got elected, that said, make America free again. To me, it's about making America free, not making America, what is great? What is great? Okay, great. You know, I mean, there's literally such an arbitrary thing but what made America great was the fact that we were freedom oriented, that we were small government, almost at the point of no government. And now, I mean, this is, you know, all these, you know, I can't wait to see all these, you know, especially, you know, people want to call me a right winger, but I can't wait to see all these other right wingers who are going to be going out on 4th of July and saying, America, my freedoms, as you know, they're, you know, quarantined in, you know, watching, you know, some state sanctioned fireworks going off from their, you know, porch or something. So, but I do have to probably get going in a few minutes because I do have to get something to eat before my next client meeting. But
right, absolutely. I'm trying to load the video on my phone so I could attach my Monero address to it, and my internet has disappeared on my phone, so I can no longer do that. Anyway, so I can't even do that again today. If anybody wants, let me see if I can get this up on the screen for you guys. And if you want, you could pause it. This is my Monero address. If anyone wants to scan it and send me a Monero tip, I really appreciate, you know, the revolution for the ability to have free money. and it's never been more important to be privacy oriented as well. So anyway, we have many links below that you guys can check. Join our new newsletter at www.iamband.com. You can become a client of Tim Picciott below at thelibertyadvisor.com, unless your name is, what's his name? What was that guy's name?
Bradley B.
Bradley B. I feel bad for everyone that wasn't that guy whose name is Bradley and has the last name that starts with a B.
Biatch.
And anyway, but you know, I do want to finish it off with just pulling up this article that Doug Casey did called "Welcome to the Great Depression," or the Greater Depression, I should say. And this is exactly where we are at this moment. As it says a little bit below, it says, "We've entered a downturn that is going to be longer, deeper, and different than the unpleasantness of 1929 and 1946, to say the least. And there's a good chance we will see wars come out of this. They're already shooting missiles into Iraq while simultaneously telling ISIS and all these other so-called enemies that they armed and funded in the area not to attack them, because all these bases are overcome with COVID-19. So they're saying, we have coronavirus, don't attack us, but also they're shooting missiles into other countries. I believe we're going to see a huge rise in militarism very soon. And when they say they're bringing the troops home, right now the only troops they're bringing home, they're putting on the streets of the United States to point guns at you. So it's never been more important to be vigilant, disobey, and be a free human being, and don't listen to these monsters, these control freaks, these collectivist criminals, these cartel members that call themselves government, who steal your money in order to enforce horrible, deadly things against you. Their biggest murderer in history is the U.S. government. The biggest murderer in history, I shouldn't say the U.S. government, is government. Biggest polluter, biggest thief, and you want them to save you from this bio warfare that they created in the first place? I think not. Don't fall for it. Stop falling for the tricks. Break free. Get some sunshine, get some vitamin D in you. It's good for, fending off illnesses. Also, watch our interview with Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, who we interviewed earlier this week or last week. Obviously, inventor of email, 4 degrees from MIT. He's someone that everyone should be listening to. Don't listen to this moron, Dr. Fauci, who has built his career on fraud. Yeah, he did some politically correct stuff in the 1980s that was great. He said the word AIDS when no one else was willing to say it. Great. He said some words, but what has he done? He is not an expert at immunology, and he is towing establishment talking points, which are leading to the biggest enslavement racket we've ever seen in the history of the world. So who are we going to listen to? Dr. Shiva, who's talking about freeing humanity and questioning everything, or this guy who says if you question things, you can be put in jail, like in Virginia or in Maryland. You can't walk outside without permission to go to the grocery store, which you could still get beaten up for by the cops, as we've seen in Spain. And otherwise, you might get a 1-year prison sentence or $2,500 to $5,000 fine. You can't walk on beaches, $1,000 fine for watching the sunset in San Diego. I mean, guys, wake up. Ankle monitors, door-to-door checks, National Guard deployed, police state. Break free. Don't be a slave, for the love of God. Anyway, make sure to hit like on this video. I really appreciate all the super chats today. It goes a long way, and it's very, very much appreciated. There's all those links below and ways that you can help us, as well as cryptocurrencies below and ways to tip us. Join us on float.app, flote.app. I'm at Josh Sigurdson, as well as at Wham. Tim is at the Liberty Advisor on float.app, and go follow him as well. Let's keep putting pressure on all these criminals that are trying to enslave us and our minds and our money. Anyway, I appreciate you joining me again today, Tim, and doing all this work. Any final words as we close this off?
No, yeah, I mean, just in these moments, it's more important than ever.
No.
I mean, the police want to say, no. Yeah, the police want to say things like, the Constitution's suspended. I mean, I saw an article the other day, or a video where a guy, I think a pastor out of Louisiana or Mississippi, one of those places down south, where, basically you have the police breaking up church service. I mean, the First Amendment, number one, is it's not separation of church and state. It's that the state can't tell the government or can't tell the church what to do. That is the First Amendment. And so I don't give a rat's that, you're a police officer and got a big shiny badge because you graduated at the bottom.
It's magical, man. They waved a wand, they're wizards, and now the badge means that they can beat up children and old ladies.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. The only thing I appreciate, maybe Bradley, if you want to go follow my YouTube page, and you can go troll me over there. But yeah, I'm trying to get up to reach over 2,000 here. So if you guys want to go follow me at the Liberty Advisor page, that'd be awesome. But yeah, libertyadvisor.com if you want to become a client, except for Bradley, and then all the rest, yeah, just still
And
kicking
by the
back,
way,
taking
I
names.
died in 2020 says it thinks that you got possessed by a demon, and he's got all the evidence in capital letters.
I heard someone else say that I speak in currencies and I got possessed by the Federal Reserve, maybe. So yeah,
Well,
I
anyway,
was watching some spirit cooking videos with Maria Abranovich earlier today. So maybe I don't even want to joke about that
not
stuff.
out of hobby. This is definitely satanic what we're witnessing on Easter, the Easter shutdowns, the church shutdowns. It's absolutely ridiculous. And this isn't about stopping the coronavirus. It's about stopping you. The police can go touch you and grope you and beat their wives and all that kind of stuff. No one worries about that, but they worry about you going to church and taking your own risks upon yourself. Individual responsibility is a thing. Collective responsibility should be disobeyed. It is what you decide as an individual, as a responsible individual, and you have demand on the market as a human being. And if you do the wrong thing, bad things will happen to you. Anyway, I really appreciate everyone joining today.
And I got a question. I got a question that someone's saying, Bradley's saying I'm ducking a question. First off, I don't even know what question was answered. Second off, maybe put a super chat in and don't be cheap and we'll be able to see the question. And third, it's not like I'm looking at the whole thing the entire time. So if you got a question, you can put it in the super chat. Then Josh will then be able to read it and address it from there. But I don't know. What am I ducking?
Well, he just responded STFU. I think it's let's stop talking about this guy. We're giving him too much credit. He just seems to be trying to annoy us and get on our nerves. But anyway,
you want to step up to me, dude? 7-time Ironman finisher. What are you? What are you?
Here,
50 years old? Come on. 50 years old. Why don't you go? Yeah. So let's go see. Yeah, let's go see what I've accomplished, and let's go see what you've accomplished. And I've done more by the time I was 30 than you were at 50. So you can just piece off them not answering any of your questions again. So you might need to create a fake account and then maybe ask your question that way. But you have now been completely ignored. You've been Tim banned, completely Tim banned.
Tim banned. Anyway, at the end of the day, this is a battle of good versus evil. Be the good and be the change, and stop following leaders. They said Bob Dylan song, don't follow leaders, watch your parking meters. Anyway, I really appreciate everyone joining us today. We'll be back at you with much more news here at World Alternative Media. I look forward to it, to bring you guys the latest on all this craziness. This is history in the making, guys, and stay safe out there, not because of the coronavirus, but because of the government. They want to enslave you. They want to kill you. They want you to be suffering and dependent and weak and begging them for help. And that's how they benefit. Anyway, until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and Tim Picciott signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.